Elon Musk left you a final message, only 30 minutes left, don't ignore. The message arrived unexpectedly, not through the usual channels of news or notifications, but tucked away in a neglected corner of your feed amid the static, spam, and cacophony of clashing voices. It read, in letters that seemed to throb with an eerie urgency, Elon Musk left you a final message. Only 30 minutes left. Don't ignore. You paused, drawn in by its peculiar gravity, like a voice cutting through a noisy crowd. You'd trained yourself to tune out nonsense, conspiracies, and endless scams, but these words, final message, 30 minutes, don't ignore, struck a primal chord, as if the world had suddenly revealed a ticking clock you'd never noticed. You leaned in closer. It could be an ad, a prank, or something else entirely. Strangely, the link didn't redirect to an external site, didn't pitch a product, didn't beg for your credit card or clicks. Instead, it opened to a blank text field, and words began streaming in, as if typed live by someone on the other side of the screen. No introduction, no proof of Musk's identity, no disclaimer about deepfakes or hacks, just raw words, marked with an asterisk. If you are reading this, we have even less time than I anticipated. I can't send this to everyone. You were chosen because the probability models indicated you have the highest likelihood of responding, even if you don't fully believe me. 30 minutes. Don't ignore this. Your pulse quickened. You checked the timestamp, the sender, the code behind it, but the words marched on, indifferent to your skepticism. In 30 minutes, a cascade will begin, an irreversible event. Not war in the conventional sense, not a market crash, not a failed rocket launch. Something deeper, systemic, the end of an assumption that has underpinned civilization. That assumption is time itself. You treat time as infinite, or at least negotiable, every deadline resettable, every loss recoverable. That's the illusion. I'm writing because the illusion is shattering, and someone needs to be awake when it happens. A chill ran through you, irrational yet oddly logical. The prose had the rhythm of late-night ruminations, but also the precision of someone who's crunched numbers no one else has seen. Elon Musk, if it was him, had access to simulations, data from satellites, AI predictions on markets, wars, climates, and futures. Eccentric, erratic, but far from foolish. If his models predicted a cliff, what did that imply? Why send it to you, an ordinary person? The message anticipated your doubts. This isn't about me. Erase me from your thoughts for now. Pretend the sender is a ghost, an echo, a machine. Focus solely on the content. The warning is straightforward, you're at the pivot of history. Everything you believe about stability is flawed. You've been walking on glass thinner than ice, and now the pressure is unbearable. 3 collapses are converging: ecological, technological, psychological. Alone, each might be manageable; together, they're unstoppable. You won't have the luxury of ignoring them. But you can choose to face them consciously, awake, human. That's why these 30 minutes matter. You glanced at the clock. If this was live, you'd already wasted 3 minutes reading. Part of you wanted to shut it down, laugh it off, dismiss it as nonsense. But a deeper, instinctual part held you captive. In the quiet of your room, amid the buzz of your devices, you'd sensed it before, that subtle tremor beneath life's surface, the approach of something vast and unspoken. Climate change, AI, geopolitical strife, or just the reckless hubris of a species grown too powerful? You'd felt it. Everyone had, though most drowned it in endless scrolling, memes, and distractions. The message intensified. Think of a rocket launch, all the prep, checklists, countdown. Once ignition hits, no pause. Humanity is at T-minus 30 minutes. Not literal rockets, but the ignition point metaphorically. You can't halt it. I couldn't, with all my wealth and influence. No one can. But you can choose to be awake or asleep when it starts. That's the only real choice remaining. Do you grasp that? The words poured in, dense and unyielding, like a confession filling your screen. He described runaway feedback loops, AI amplifying human flaws, climate tipping points, financial systems teetering on unauditable algorithms. He spoke of fraying psyches under relentless change, societies hooked on attention, wars waged with indistinguishable truths and lies. You imagine collapse as a single event. It's not. It's a chain of dominoes already toppling. These 30 minutes are symbolic, the time left before denial becomes impossible. What follows? Survival, adaptation, rebirth, or extinction? You weighed the words. Theater? A thought experiment? Yet their scale unsettled you, echoing truths even if fictional, headlines of floods, fires, melting ice, AI blurring reality, inflating currencies, shrinking attention spans. It all coalesced here, condensed into a countdown. And it didn't stop. If you're tempted to call this paranoia, consider, you already inhabit a paradox. You rely on incomprehensible machines, invisible networks, unvoted laws, unaudited algorithms. That's not freedom, it's dependency masquerading as it. The paradox is believing you're the driver when you're just a passenger. That belief ends soon. What follows is clarity, want it or not. Your hands shook slightly over the mouse. You scrolled. The text kept flowing like an unending stream. Clock check, 23 minutes. If the 30 were literal, what then? An alert, disaster, or nothing, leaving you to mock your gullibility? Still, the words dug deeper. Mistakes are inevitable. I made plenty, humanity more. But what counts isn't the error, but facing it with no undo. You're not powerless. Awareness is power. Consciousness is power. Asleep at the hour's end, you'll be swept like dust. Awake, you'll suffer but see, remember, act. The difference is vast, piece or player. You long to ask, how? What to do? A plan? Instructions? But the message evaded specifics, circling back to presence, awareness, refusal to look away. Beneath your doubt, the logic resonated. In crises, the quickest to fall aren't the weak, but the unprepared, the deniers. Awareness, thin as it is armor. The tone shifted. This final message isn't just for you, it's for those you share it with. You're a distribution node. Ignore it, and the chain breaks. Whisper it, and it spreads. That's why you were chosen. Not special, but ordinary enough to be trusted by others. I'm not asking you to convince, just transmit, plant the seed. That's it. You leaned back, exhaling. Rebellion stirred. You didn't want this burden, this cryptic doom. Yet, even as a hoax, its themes stung with truth. The world was fragile, systems were fragile. You'd felt it in your bones. Now it was laid bare, urgent, relentless. Minutes ticked, 19, 18. The message persisted. Don't await a savior, me, governments, armies, corporations. They're lost, invested in the illusion. Salvation comes from within, steadying your mind amid the quake. That's your task, nothing flashy, just awareness, clarity, rejecting easy lies. Do this, and you'll spot paths others miss. If enough do, humanity clings to hope. If not, at least you lived awake. The words echoed in your mind. You wanted to escape, but curiosity and fear anchored you. It cut through the noise, acknowledged the stakes, spoke to that late-night tremor. The text felt alive, weighted, pressing into your consciousness. Why this method? Why not a broadcast or alert? Conventional warnings fail, they're filtered as noise. Humans tune out danger. So it comes fragmented, urgent, direct, hard to dismiss if you're attentive. Your fingers hovered over the keyboard, itching to question, challenge, demand. The message preempted, don't seek clarity in answers. Seek it in perception. You'll never know everything beforehand. You'll never be fully ready. That's human. Preparation isn't foreseeing the fall, but recognizing it will come and choosing to stand after. You scanned the room. Device hums grew louder, window light sharper. No rational reason, but your senses heightened, as if the message had activated something internal. Time will warp strangely. Minutes may stretch or compress. Notice it. Panic? Observe it. Doubt? Embrace it, it's a companion, not foe. These 30 minutes aren't just a countdown, they're initiation, a filter. Only the present will perceive what's next. The rest stay asleep. Phone check, 16 minutes. The ticking amplified the word's intensity, not just urgent, but existential, pressing into your core. You felt small, vulnerable, yet oddly responsible. Humanity craves narrative, it can't endure without story. That's why disasters shock, collapses seem impossible till they arrive. You're warned not because you're special, but because you can remember, recount, impose sense on senselessness. The 30 minutes are symbolic yet real. Observe them. Consciousness isn't a right, it's a choice. Will you choose it? The next line chilled you. Some can't be stopped or softened. But that's not the point. The point is your response. The world is less physically fragile than you think, more so in perception. Clear perception, Clear action, you might influence others, carry knowledge for generations. Your awareness is survival's vector. You wanted to close it, step back, but stayed rooted. The message had become a primal dialogue, bypassing logic, appealing to instinct, the part that heeds warnings before evidence. It's tempting to seek guides or manuals. None exist. Humans learn and adapt in real time, that's survival. I can't predict all, I warn, illuminate, urge attention. That's why 30 minutes count. 15 minutes. The countdown felt tangible. Words flowed, urgent, philosophical, frightening. Don't confuse complacency with safety, tech with protection, authority with truth. Illusions for comfort, lethal in shifts. You're not for comfort, for consciousness. That's the skill, the art, the final message. You leaned forward, mind racing. What in 15 minutes could change everything? Physical? Societal? Revelatory? The message defied pinning down. I won't specify the event, it's irrelevant. What matters, your engagement, presence, refusal to ignore reality. The cascade starts regardless, your wakefulness at impact does. The room constricted, walls closing, compressing space-time. Pulse rising. 14 minutes. Some will dismiss, laugh, panic, freeze. Observe from afar. Recognize reactions, they're human. Use humanity wisely. Denial holds no heroism. Thoughts spun, psychological experiment. Viral stunt. Simulation glitch. Yet certainty grew, the words bore the weight of calculated probabilities, endgames, inescapable conclusions. You can't escape this message or its consequences. Ignore? Your choice. Act? Yours too. No neutrality in collapse, passivity is action, consequence. Every choice matters, action most. 13 minutes. Room spun, time fluctuated as warned. Observe the world, listen, feel, watch. These minutes calibrate awareness, a rare gift. Clarity before chaos. Others lack it. Use it. This window isn't random, hinge, threshold, turning point. You may never get another. Text flooded. Don't fear the unknown. Fear's a tool, don't yield. Don't cling to certainty, it's illusion. Learn flux navigation, steadiness in storms. Preparation, presence, awareness, mindfulness. Not stockpiles or bunkers. If savable, this is it. Eyes closed, steadying breath. 12 minutes. Room quieter, tech hum faded, mind sharpened. Words persisted. Some may not believe, fine. Belief unnecessary. Needed, attention, focus, observation, engagement. Act or witness, valid if conscious. Breathing shallow. 11 minutes. Signals will come, obvious, subtle, accidental, news, personal. Note them as data, not story. No panic time, no confusion. Observation time. Patterns register. Intensity rose. 10 minutes. Overwhelmed. Expected. Fear. Natural. Doubt. Embrace. Tools internal, attention, reason, courage, resilience. No handbook, no authority, just you, the moment. Clock, 9 minutes. Unblinking, unmoving, uneaten. Body detached, observing itself. Words permeated senses, space, consequence. Don't undervalue the individual. In collapse, clarity spreads. One awake influences many. One conscious carries awareness, seeds recovery, memory, legacy. That's your selection. 8 minutes. Philosophical shift. Humanity survived chaos via observers, actors, transmitters. You're in that lineage. Fail or succeed, not the point. Be awake, resist ignorance's lure, choose consciousness over ease. 7 minutes. Message whispered through screen. What's next isn't catastrophic as stories go, transformative. Tears illusions, shakes structures, tests beliefs. Asleep? Violent wake. Awake? Confirmation, clarity, action demand. No neutrality. Awareness your tool. That's all. You leaned closer. Maybe it was an ad. Maybe a prank. But the link didn't lead outward, didn't push you to click, didn't demand money or a purchase. It opened to a blank field of text, and the words began to stream as if typed live by a hand beyond the screen. No introduction, no explanation of why it was Musk or whether this was real, no deep fake or hack, just words, asterisk. If you are reading this, then we have less time than I thought. I cannot send this to everyone. You were selected because the probability distribution gave you the highest chance of acting even if you do not believe me. 30 minutes. Don't ignore this asterisk. Your heart shifted gears. You checked the timestamp, tried to dissect the mechanics, but the words continued, pushing through your doubt. In 30 minutes, a cascade begins. The kind of event that nobody can reverse once it starts. I do not mean war in a simple way or financial collapse or even a rocket's failure on its path. I mean something deeper, systemic, an end to an assumption civilization has carried. That assumption is time. You think of time as endless or at least long enough to squander. You believe every deadline is negotiable, every clock reset, every loss recoverable. That is the illusion. I am writing because the illusion is ending and someone must be awake when it happens. A chill crawled across you, irrational and yet strangely rational. The words had the cadence of a late-night thinker who has chased numbers no one else has. You pictured the man, Elon Musk, who had access to simulations, data streams, satellites, AI systems governing predictions of markets, wars, climates, possibilities. Eccentric and erratic perhaps, but not stupid. If he had run numbers and found a cliff ahead, what did it mean? Why send it to you? To anyone like you? The message pressed on. Asterisk, this is not about me. Erase me from your mind for a moment. Pretend the sender is a ghost, an echo, a machine. Focus only on the content. The warning is simple. You are at the hinge of history. Everything you believe about stability is wrong. You have been walking on glass thinner than ice. And now the weight is too much. There are 3 collapses converging: ecological, technological, psychological. Each could be managed together. They are not manageable. You will not have the option of ignoring them. But you do have the option of being conscious, awake, human when the collapse begins. That is why 30 minutes matter. Asterisk. You checked the clock. If this was live, you had burned 3 minutes reading. Part of you wanted to laugh it off, dismiss it as a prank. But another part, the deeper animal part, stayed fixed on the screen. In the quiet of your room, the hum of devices around you, you'd sometimes felt it too. That tremor under the surface of life, the sense that something immense and unspoken was approaching. Maybe climate, maybe AI, maybe geopolitical tensions, maybe just the ache of a species grown too powerful and too careless. It was all there, scattered, then gathered into a countdown. The message deepened. Asterisk. Think of a rocket launch. All the preparation, the checklists, the countdown. You know ignition comes with no pause. Humanity is at T-minus 30 minutes. Not literal rockets, but metaphorically. You cannot stop it. I could not stop it with all the money and power I had. Nobody can. But you can choose whether you are awake or asleep when it begins. This is the only real choice left. Do you understand? The words pressed on, dense, relentless, filling the screen like a confession. He spoke of runaway feedback loops, AI not as villains but accelerators of every human flaw, of climate thresholds, of financial networks balanced on algorithms no one can fully control. He spoke of human psychology fraying under the speed of change, of societies built on attention and distraction, of wars fought with truths and lies indistinguishable. Asterisk. You think collapse is a single event. It is not. It is a sequence of dominoes already falling. The 30 minutes are symbolic. They are the time you have left before you cannot pretend anymore. What comes after is survival, adaptation, reinvention, or extinction. You tried to measure the words. Was it theater? A thought experiment? The sheer scale of it made you uneasy, because even if it was fiction, it rang with undeniable truth. Headlines about floods, fires, melting poles, the rise of generative AI that blurs the line between real and fake, currency inflation, shifting power. It was all there, gathered into a countdown. And still the message did not stop. If you are tempted to dismiss this as paranoia, consider this. You already live inside a paradox. Every day you use machines you don't understand, connected to networks you cannot see, governed by laws you didn't vote for, shaped by algorithms you cannot audit. That is not freedom. That is dependency disguised as freedom. The paradox is that you believe you are the driver when you are the passenger. That belief will end soon. What follows is clarity, whether you want it or not. Asterisk your hands trembled slightly on the mouse. You scrolled. The text came on like a stream that would not run dry. You checked the clock again. 23 minutes. If the 30 were literal, what would happen at 0? An alert? A catastrophe? You'd laugh at yourself for being pulled into someone's elaborate story. Yet the words burrowed deeper. Asterisk mistakes are inevitable. I made many. Humanity has made more. But what matters is not the mistake itself but how you face it when there is no undo. You reading this are not powerless. Awareness is power. Consciousness is power. If you meet the next hour asleep, you will be swept away like dust. If you meet it awake, you may still suffer, but you will see, you will remember, you will act. The difference is not small. It is the difference between being a piece and being a player. Asterisk. The stream continued. You wanted to ask questions. How? What could you do? Was there a plan, a set of instructions? But the words resisted specifics. They circled back to presence, awareness, the refusal to ignore. And beneath your skepticism, the logic rang true. In crisis, the ones who collapse fastest are not the weakest, but the most unprepared, the most in denial. Awareness itself was armor, however thin. The shift in tone came with a new emphasis. There is another thing. The final message is not for you alone. It is for whoever you tell. You are the distribution node. If you ignore it, the line ends. If you carry it even as a whisper, it spreads. That is why you were chosen. Not because you are special, but because you are ordinary enough to be trusted by those around you. I am not telling you to convince. I am telling you to transmit, plant the seed. That is all. Asterisk. You leaned back, exhaling. You didn't want this burden. You did not want to be the carrier of cryptic doom. Yet you knew that even if this was a hoax, the themes it raised were true enough to sting. The world was fragile.